21 Pilots would pick up a Billboard Music Award and an MTV Video Music Award in 2016.
What are we looking forward to seeing other than our performance? Not much.
Before 21 Pilots would be credited with creating their own subgenre known as schizopop.
The only one who was first to stand up. This doesn't mean I lost my dream. It's just right now I got to really grace magically.
Before their hit Stressed Out Ride and Heathens would blow up online with heavy radio play, and their track Heathens would end up being featured on the Suicide Squad soundtrack.
Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse.
The duo Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn were both raised in conservative religious households in Columbus, Ohio. The boys were homeschooled throughout most of their elementary time, and their parents' strict moral code had them hiding their punk rock CDs, while they were both pushed towards higher learning. Now Tyler, he opted out of a basketball scholarship to pursue his love of singing and piano, forming an earlier version of the band 21 Pilots. Josh was a skateboarder who taught himself to play the drums at a local music store. Two previous members of the group dropped out, and Tyler and Josh had a new budding bromance, so the two decided to perform together. Their first gig was at a frat house where one dude tried to pee on their gear, and the cops shut them down after just one song.
They literally, I pushed a kid to the ground with his pants down. I felt bad, but he's about to pee on my drums.
That's the worst way to go down.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? My name is MCCRUDDEN, documenting the life and career of 21 Pilots prior to fame, here for you on Before They're Famous. Now you guys requested this video about 10,000 times, so forgive me that it's taken this long. We were away at Playlist Live at DC, and even one of you guys came up to me face to face and were like, you gotta do 21 Pilots. So now, we're finally getting it done. As always, be sure to let me know in the comments down below who you want me to document next. Also, you can find me on Instagrizzy at MCCRUDDEN. First up, we got Tyler Robert Joseph, born on December 1st, 1988 in Columbus, Ohio. He grew up with his two brothers and a sister, his father a school coach and later a Christian school principal, his mother a former math teacher and later a basketball coach. Growing up, Tyler was homeschooled by mom, and with his parents being such big fans of athletics, they encouraged him to pick a sport to focus on his future.
Be able to go to college, the best way of doing that is getting some sort of scholarship, which of course it wasn't going to come from academics.
His childhood training wasn't easy. Mom made Tyler take 500 shots every single day in the backyard. If he got closer to the basket or made a layup, well, his mom would knock on the window in the kitchen and point to the three-point line. He had to finish before dinner or he wouldn't be allowed to eat. Jesus, I thought these boys were Christian. He went on to play point guard for Worthington Christian in 2008. The basketball team placed second in the Division IV state tournament. Soon the scholarship was his to Otterbein University, but he had developed a new passion in the meantime. He was gifted a keyboard one Christmas, which he had stuffed away at the time, but later became obsessed with mimicking radio melodies like the Beatles. He was also singing in the school choir, and the boy knew he wanted a future in music. He formed a band with fellow musicians Nick Thomas and Chris Salee. He then came up with the name 21 Pilots after reading All My Sons by Arthur Miller.
And in that play, someone made a decision and they sent out faulty airplane parts during the war, and 21 pilots died because they sent them out.
In 2008, Joseph recorded the solo album, No Fun Intended, in his basement, his first and only solo effort. Near the end of 2009, his band released their debut self-titled album, 21 Pilots, and began touring Ohio, which apparently is a place filled with venues. I mean, they do have two basketball teams, and it's the Midwest. People need something to do. Alright, let's move on to Josh Dunn. Joshua William Dunn was born on June 18, 1988 in Columbus, Ohio, and grew up with two sisters and a brother. Now of the two, Josh had the stricter upbringing, his mom a nurse and his father a physical therapist. They would not allow him to listen to music, and he even had Clean Flicks videos to watch as a kid. He recalls watching The Terminator as a child, and entire scenes were cut out from the film. It made absolutely no sense.
I owe everything I have to my mother's watchful eye and swift hand. Oh, there's Mother now.
He wasn't allowed to listen to music, but the dude was rebellious and a skater, so he'd sneak to the local music store where he'd buy albums like Green Day's Dookie, and he'd hide them under his bed. He also taught himself to play the drums at the store. He listened to music on his headphones and then practiced on the drum kits that were on sale.
First beat that kind of like made sense
I thought in my head that that's something that I wanted to do forever.
He went through some rough years, almost being sent to military school or kicked out of his house at the age of 14. Eventually, he convinced his parents to get him his own drum set, and he would be allowed to play providing he kept a 2.7 grade point average. Following high school, he began working at Guitar Center, making minimum wage for 3 years. There he met Krista Lee, who invited him to check out his show performing as a drummer for a group known as 21 Pilots.
When we first met, I had just gotten this new app called Tinder. And I reached out and I saw Josh.
The story goes that Tyler and Josh hit it off immediately, becoming the best of buds after the show. In 2011, the other two members got busy with other bands, work or school, and dropped out of 21 Pilots. Josh, who was previously the drummer for House of Heroes, well, he jumped at the opportunity to join Tyler and even quit his job to play their first live gig at a frat party. The cops knocked on the doors after their opening song. Yikes.
So we played half of a song after all that, and that was our first show together.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Together the two would grind it out, performing at every local venue they could book. They released their album, Regional at Best, and Joseph would drive door to door hand-delivering tickets to club shows. They evolved from this tactic to instead meet with their fans at the local mall's food court. On show days, Joseph's mom would stand outside the club and try to hawk tickets to passing Ohio State students. What a gem. By 2012, Joseph had grown into an attention-grabbing performer. He recalls his goal being to get bartenders or staff's attention while performing, and that's when they started to make use of masks in their shows.
Being a band that has faces that are represented by individuals on stage, but then also trying to create something that is a little more faceless.
He was also notorious for climbing scaffolding and diving into audiences. The duo became the biggest band in Central Ohio, putting every spare penny they made back into the band and building a grassroots fan base. Word was spreading around town and the boys were made aware of this when their mother's hairdresser started off saying, "Oh, your boy's in 21 Pilots? I just cut another woman's hair whose boy was in 21 Pilots. You two must know each other."
And boom goes the dynamite.
In 2012, they signed to Atlantic subsidiary Fueled by Raymond, releasing their 3-songs EP. They dropped their third album, Vessel, in 2013, and they would travel the country in a bandwagon RV, but things were about to get kicked into high gear. Fall Out Boy announced that 21 Pilots would be their opening act on their Save Rock and Roll Arena tour. The duo booked appearances on Conan, MTVU, played at Lollapalooza, and gained a new fan base just as they were ready to drop their 4th album, BLURRYFACE. When this came out in 2005, the boys were heading back to Columbus for some good needed R&R, but immediately after its release, their singles and the album climbed to the top of the charts, and the boys had made it in a big way. That video in Josh Dunn's home, yeah, mom and dad, they ain't so strict after all. Or at least these days. Or at least now that he's making some coin. As for the rest of the story, well, you know the story because this is before they're famous. My name is Mike McCrudden, thanks for checking out this channel. We do all sorts of celebrity bios on here. We've done a bunch of rock stars. The guy from Blink-182 that's in Aliens, that one comes to mind, Tom DeLonge. But we've done all sorts of guys and people that have catchy songs, they're floating around out there. Like that kid who's got 7 years. What's that one? Graham, Lucas Graham. I don't know, check out the other videos, hit subscribe, we got playlists for all your favorite bios, and I'll see you guys in another video.
What's that, Mother? Well, they have a right to be here. It's school business. Mother, that sailor suit doesn't fit anymore.